All right, welcome to another edition of The Rundown. Going to be breaking down the big Sunday matchups and storylines. And first, I of course want to start off with Chiefs and Chargers. The Chargers won 16-13, and let's just address the elephant in the room. Patrick Mahomes tore his left ACL with about 2 minutes left in the game. He was having knee problems coming into the game. Prayers up, and now the Chiefs have been officially eliminated from the playoffs. Sucks for Mahomes. Great player. Hate to see any great player go through that. Tough injury, but I think he'll bounce back. Andy Reid said today that he didn't tear any other ligaments in his knee, so that's good. And Brady, he also had an ACL injury, and it wasn't career ending by any means. He was still able to bounce back and still be a great player. And at the point that Brady tore his ACL, he was at least a couple, 2, 3 years older than Mahomes. So I think Mahomes will be fine. And with the advent of technology and everything, he should be able to bounce back. The Chiefs, I've talked about this before, they're going to have to go back to the drawing board, and they have a lot of things to address this season, but one of the things that they have to address, obviously, is finding a backup quarterback. I don't know if they believe in Gardner Minshew that much, or they're going to try and look somewhere else. I think Gardner Minshew is probably a capable backup. Unfortunately, against the Chargers, he was just thrown into the fire. He threw a terrible interception that cost them and potentially getting into field goal range and tying the game up. But I'm not going to hold that over his head. It was just a tough position to be in. It's just hard to do that. And plus, I doubt he was getting that much reps in practice. So that makes it even more exponentially difficult. This game, though, it was the same old, same old. Mahomes took 5 sacks. 3 of his own linemen were out. And despite that, the game was actually pretty close. I mean, the Chiefs were up 13-3 at one point, and they had an opening drive touchdown, which has just been a struggle for them this season. But the Chargers, they came roaring back. They got a touchdown to end the first half to make it a 13-10 ball game. And after that, it was pretty much of a stalemate, but the Chargers were able to string together 2 field goals to make it 16-13. And the Chiefs, second half, obviously, it wasn't good. Third quarter, they just went 3 and out, and Mahomes threw an interception. And they also just, same old, couldn't run the ball well at all. Pacheco ran for 21 yards. Mahomes ran for 15 yards. And that's just been another issue for the Chiefs is the running game. The running game just has not been good at all. It's been pretty awful. They need to figure that out. I mean, Mahomes should not be nearly your leading rusher. Mahomes likes to save his legs for the playoffs, and you could see if you're a Chiefs fan or you were watching just a ton of Chiefs games that Mahomes had to use his legs a lot more than he would have liked to use it because in the passing game they weren't able to get anything going, and obviously the running game just hasn't been great. And I think like the Chiefs are ranked like 20th in the running game. Not good enough. Of course, it could be mitigated with the better passing attack, but that's just been uneven all year. Now, I want to talk about legacy. Obviously, lots of people are going to talk about it. What is Patrick Mahomes' legacy like? With the Chiefs missing the playoffs, and I know he tore his ACL, but it honestly looked like they were going to miss the playoffs. Anyways, not ideal. Obviously, goes in the ledger for sure, but last few seasons, Mahomes hasn't been spectacular. Brady, for the most part, I don't think he had many seasons where he was just not that great. I mean, Brady missed the playoffs the year after they won his first Super Bowl against the St. Louis Rams at the time, but Brady was a young guy and hadn't come into his own yet, and that's something you have to give Patrick Mahomes credit for, is that when he came into the league, he was great automatic. Brady, it took 5, 6 seasons for him to be great. But honestly, if Mahomes wins 2 Super Bowls, then I think all will be forgotten. Even though I may ding him in the GOAT debate, most people won't. A lot of people badly want Mahomes to be the GOAT, and I get it. He's awesome. No haterade on this side of the table, but when the media and fans want to anoint you as the GOAT, they'll forget a lot of things. Like when LeBron won his 3rd ring against the Warriors, lots of people were like, he's the GOAT, and they conveniently forgot about the fact that he choked against Dallas. So I think if Mahomes wins 2, 3 more Super Bowls, they'll forget about the fact that he missed the playoffs. But Mahomes has to get back to being spectacular. Last season wasn't that spectacular. The season before, I won't pin his struggles on him because his wide receivers were just flat out dropping the ball. And this season, they've also been dropping the ball also. I think they lead the league in drop rate, which is absolutely insane. So Mahomes just has to get back to being great and being one of the top guys. And now, the best quarterback belt, it's up for grabs, and it looks like Josh Allen may be the one to grab it soon, and I'll talk more about that later. But yeah, hopefully the Chiefs next season they can find a backup quarterback who can like get them to be steady, kind of like what Jimmy Garoppolo did for Brady. Or, I don't know. I doubt they'll want to do this because I just don't think Andy Reid is built like that. And I don't think that the general manager, Brett Veach, is built like that. But I don't think they're going to tank and say, hey, let's just get a top 10, top 5 pick and, try and rebuild from there. I don't think that's going to happen. I think they're going to try and win games and just hope that they can retool and just be better this season than they were. Be better next season than they were this past season. So we'll see how that goes. Now I want to talk about Colts and Seahawks. The Seahawks won 18-16. Of course, the big storyline of this game, no ifs, ands, or buts about it, is Phillip Rivers. Phillip Rivers was 18 for 27, 120 yards, one touchdown, one interception. Sam Darnold, on the other hand, 22 of 36, 271 yards. Going into this game, it was obviously the worst kept secret in the world that they were just not going to put a lot of stuff on Phillip Rivers' plate. They ran the ball frequently, and honestly, when they even threw the ball, it was just quick screen passes on the outside or just checkdowns. I mean, the longest play of the day, or one of the longest plays of the day, was Phillip Rivers throwing a little check down to Amir Abdullah that went 14 yards, and that helped them get into field goal range and helped them to go up 3-0. Seattle, on the other hand, of course, was focused on running the ball, I think, at the beginning, which I think came back to bite them, honestly. I mean, they were still able to win the game, but it kind of just set like a bad tone to start. Just not a good running day for Seattle. Zach Charbonnet overall had 8 carries for 31 yards. Walker, 9 carries for 17 yards. So weren't able to do jack out of it. But second possession, Seattle started airing it out, and they were able to get a field goal. And that was pretty much the theme of the Seattle, getting into the red zone or very close to it and just not being able to capitalize and just get a touchdown. The Colts, on the other hand, were surprisingly able to get a touchdown, which honestly shocked me. I mean, Phillip Rivers had a nice 17-yarder to Tyler Warren, which got him going, and they were able to get into the end zone. And halftime, it was 13-6, and I'm thinking, oh no, is Seattle just going to blow this game? Because I thought, like, Seattle's got to win this game. There's just no way that, they can lose in order to have a chance of potentially getting the number 1 seed in the division. And I don't want to bore you with the third quarter where there just wasn't all that much action, to be honest with you. So I'm just going to move ahead to the fourth quarter. It's 2 minutes and 27 seconds left. Colts have the ball and they're down 15-13. And I'm thinking, okay, for the most part, the Colts offense really hasn't done anything. Seattle's defense, honestly, has been pretty good. They're going to get the stop. Seattle's offense will get the ball back and they're going to kneel it out. But no, Phillip Rivers almost had a storybook ending. It's 3rd and 7, and Rivers throws a nice ball to Alex Pierce. That was a gotta have it play, and he was able to make it. They got some small runs, and they were able to kick a field goal, and they're up 16-15 with 47 seconds left. And I was honestly happy that we got the ball back with 47 seconds left because I had confidence that Darnold will come through, and he absolutely did come through. Darnold threw back-to-back balls to Rashid Shaheed, who earned his paycheck on that drive. He's been pretty much MIA ever since he's been traded to Seattle. Other than some nice kickoff returns, he just really hasn't been that much active in the passing game. And that drive, he definitely came through. I mean, he had a 17-yarder, and he also had an 8-yarder. And Myers being clutch, he kicked a 56-yarder. Colts got the ball back with 18 seconds left. They also had 3 of their timeouts, but it didn't matter. And Phillip Rivers just threw kind of like, a mini Hail Mary, and it got picked off. Jason Myers, I don't know where Seattle would be in the game without him. I mean, that man had a 47-yarder, a 52-yarder, a 46-yarder, a 32-yarder, which obviously isn't that bad, and of course the 56-yarder. So if he wasn't a great kicker and if Seattle had a horrible kicker, they would absolutely be screwed and they would lose this game. So that's just, I don't need to say it's a lesson for teams because I think every team knows that you need to have a good kicker, but a bad kicker can lose you games. I remember in the 2017 season where Seattle barely missed the playoffs, and I can't remember the kicker's name. It might have been Blair Walsh or whatever, but he was pretty bad, and Seattle lost 2-3 games because he just was not able to just kick long distance field goals. But thankfully, Seattle has Jason Myers. Not the prettiest win for Seattle, but a win is a win, even if it is ugly. The Colts are obviously in a free fall, but they still have a talented roster. Ideally, I would have liked Seattle to score a touchdown. I mean, they should have scored a touchdown even if Sauce Gardner and Charvarius Ward were in the game, but considering they were out, they should have scored a touchdown. But these type of games happen. Sometimes you just got to win ugly games, and this was one for Seattle. And it's not like it's been a regular occurrence for Seattle where they're just like winning these close games against bad teams or teams that are kind of like nosediving. I mean, they blew out Atlanta, they blew out Minnesota, so I'm just going to chalk this up to being an anomaly. But now the Rams, that's going to be the real test for Seattle. Obviously, Darnold had that tough game 3-4 weeks back, and I'm excited to see how Darnold bounces back and if the Rams offense can get anything going, because against Seattle, they really couldn't get their offense going, and Sam Darnold practically gifted them 14 points, and that's how they were able to win the game. But the Rams, they've been high-powered, and they showed out against the Lions, and I'll talk more about that later. But it's going to be tough for Seattle this time around. I'm going to find it hard to imagine that they're going to be able to stifle the Rams offense like they did 3-4 weeks back. So Darnold is going to have to be on his A game, and the offense is just going to have to be better for Seattle to have a shot. Going to Indy, 29 runs for them compared to Phillip Rivers throwing it 27 times. Not ideal. You would have liked Jonathan Taylor to run more. He didn't run all 29 times, but he just wasn't doing enough for the most part. I think he had like 25 carries for 87 yards, which is just okay. Ideally, you would want him to get like 4 yards a pop, but he just was not getting a lot of gains, so they had to throw the ball more than they would have liked. But Phillip Rivers, he got the ball out in time, and that's going to be the recipe for success. Seattle couldn't take advantage at times of Rivers not being able to throw the ball down the field. And to be fair to Rivers, one play that he got screwed out of was Caleb Downs. Well, not Caleb Downs. Downs lost the ball in the lights, and they could have gotten a potential TD out of it. He was wide open down the sideline, but he couldn't track the ball. But Phillip Rivers, he's smart, his mind is there, but it's clear that his physical skills have diminished. His balls just don't have enough drive or enough velocity on it, which makes sense considering the fact that he is 44 years old. So he's going to need to continue to just get the ball out on time, not take too many hits, and that Colts O-line is going to have to hold up. Unfortunately, Seattle was just not able to get much pressure on him, and even when they were able to like close in on him, he was able to get the ball out. So that's what the Colts are going to need to continue to do. And Phillip Rivers, to his credit, said, I'm not here to be a savior. I'm not here to throw the ball 40, 50, 60 times. He's just in it for the love of the game, and he got a call, and he just wanted to play some football, and I guess I can't mind it. I mean, he's at a 5-year rest, and if he wants to play the game, then God bless him. Now I want to move on to Green Bay and Denver. Jordan Love, 24 of 40, 276 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. Bo Nix, 23 of 34, 302 yards, 4 touchdowns. But of course, the big story of this game is Micah Parsons tore his left ACL, which is just unfortunate. And the Green Bay, they also had Tucker Kraft tear his ACL, and he's one of their best weapons on offense, arguably their best weapon on offense. And this certainly puts a damper on their Super Bowl chances for sure in the tough conference that is the NFC. But I still think they got a shot. It's just that Jordan Love has to carry more on his shoulders. And I think that he's certainly capable of doing it. I mean, I don't think he's like an elite level quarterback like Josh Allen's or like Patrick Mahomes in the past or Lamar Jackson, but I think he's like right in that next tier, and I think he's capable of carrying more on his shoulders, especially since he has a lot of his weapons. So Green Bay's offense is going to need to help him out more. Matt LaFleur has proven himself to be a good head coach. I criticized him earlier in the season, and I thought, like, does this guy know what he's doing this season? It just doesn't seem like Green Bay is like synchronized on offense or defense, and it kind of feels like it's chaos, but he was able to turn it around. Jeff Hafley, their defensive coordinator, is pretty damn good. So I think that they'll be able to find a way to devise a good game plan, and obviously they're going to miss Micah because he is such a great player, but I think that they'll be able to work around it for sure. Now, the Broncos, they're the number 1 seed in the AFC, which is wide open as it's ever been. No Mahomes, no Lamar. Well, actually, Lamar may be there, but even if Lamar gets into the dance, the Ravens just haven't been good, and I don't know if they're going to be able to figure it out offensively. Obviously, they were able to beat the Bengals and shut them out, but the Bengals aren't a very good team, so I can't take too much value in that. And no Joe Burrow, of course. So, you know, they have a chance to potentially make a run. The only quarterback that they really have to worry about is Josh Allen, and that Bills defense really hasn't been any good, really. The Broncos have the Jaguars, the Chiefs, and the Chargers. Not easy runaway games by any means, especially the Jaguars, who are really starting to turn it around, and I've been really impressed by them. I thought that they were probably going to miss the playoffs. Trevor Lawrence wasn't really playing that well, but, he's starting to turn around, and maybe he can go in a hot streak going into the playoffs. So the Jaguars game is going to be tough. Chiefs game, I mean, I still think they're going to play, even though they've been eliminated in the playoffs. But I think Andy Reid, he's going to coach his team up, and he's going to tell them that even though we don't have anything to play for, we still got to win games. The Chargers, of course, their offensive line is totally battered and bruised, but Justin Herbert isn't anything to sneeze at whatsoever. So I think Denver probably gets the number 1 seed, and I got to give credit to Bo Nix. He's been playing very well after having a 2 to 3 week stretch earlier in the season where he was really, really struggling. And like I've said about Bo Nix before, he's very clutch. When it comes to the last drives of these games, he just lets it fly. And, I really respect that in a quarterback. And he was very clutch in that Green Bay game for sure. Unfortunately, they weren't able to get that 4th and 1 at the end, but that's not his fault. And Bo, he's very smart with the ball, and he doesn't take sacks, which is something that Sean Payton for sure loves, and he's talked about that a lot. That was one of the things that drew him to Bo Nix, was that he just does not take a lot of sacks. Seth Wickersham had a tweet that Bo Nix in 31 games has 40 sacks. Russell Wilson in 30 games with the Broncos had 100 sacks, which is absolutely insane. And with the Broncos, I mean, I can understand why people are just skeptical of them. There have been seasons where teams have just won a lot of games where they're just able to win in clutch time, and it just feels like luck is on their side. And then when it comes to the playoffs, they just wet the bed and they go one and done. I don't think that's going to be the Broncos, because they're not really facing a lot of stiff competition with like the top premier quarterbacks in the AFC going out. And Bo Nix, like I said, he's very, very clutch, and he's very, very smart, and I think he'll be good in the playoffs. I've talked about him not being a good deep ball guy, but he's very smart in the intermediate passing game, and, he just knows where to go with the ball. So I think the Broncos will have success, and their defense is pretty damn good. I may be wrong, but we'll see, and we'll see who they match up with in the playoffs, and if that other team can give them any trouble. Now I want to talk about Minnesota and Dallas. Minnesota won 34-26. JJ McCarthy was 15 of 24, 150 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Dak was 23 of 38, 294 yards. And first of all, kudos to JJ McCarthy. I've been very, very critical of him this season, but he's really shown improvement, especially last week against Washington. And I know Washington's defense hasn't been any good this season, but still, you got to give the man credit where it's due, and he's a young quarterback, and he played pretty well against Dallas, and I thought it would be an unmitigated disaster after he had an interception in the first play, and it was just a freaky play where he just batted it to Quinnen Williams. I thought he would melt down, but he was able to bounce back, and it just shows that, he's having better mental toughness for sure. First half in the game, it was nip and tuck, 17-17. I thought Dallas would be able to pull away because, A, they're the better team, and B, they were still doing very well offensively, and I thought the defense would be able to just get to JJ McCarthy even more and be able to stifle Minnesota's offense in the second half, but that simply just wasn't the case. Dallas had all the momentum on their side. They were up 23-17, but then the Vikings proceeded to score like 17 straight points, and while JJ McCarthy was up and down and he missed some open throws to Justin Jefferson, he really made some big boy throws also. In the third quarter, he had a big throw to TJ Hawkinson, and then on 4th and 3, he had a big throw to Jalen Naylor, which absolutely changed the momentum of the game to put Minnesota up 24-23. And After that, Dallas's offense pretty much stalled. They missed their second field goal in the fourth, 59 yards, and they missed another field goal earlier in the first half, which was 51 yards. And that's surprising for someone like Aubrey, who's able to hit like 60-yard field goals on a routine basis. But he just wasn't on his game against Minnesota. And I guess that happens. Sometimes field goal kickers just have off games. Unfortunately, the Cowboys can't really afford their field goal kicker to have off games because they were trying to make the playoffs. But Dallas was terrible on third down, 2 of 12. Mini wasn't good either, 2 of 9, but I felt that Minnesota was explosive offensively in the second half, and Dallas just wasn't, and their offense just stalled. I thought Dak threw the ball very well in the first half, had a couple explosive plays, and they ran the ball okay. Javonte Williams had a pretty decent day at the office, 15 carries for 91 yards, which isn't half bad. Minnesota, on the other hand, couldn't do anything when it came to running the ball. Aaron Jones, 12 carries for 34 yards, and Jordan Mason, 10 carries for 29 yards, and that makes what JJ McCarthy did even more impressive, because a guy like him who isn't that skilled as a quarterback, he needs a good running game. But despite the fact that Minnesota didn't have a good running game and they were still able to get the dub and still put up 30 plus points, is very damn impressive. And I'm very disappointed in Dallas's defense because A, they gave up 30 plus to Minnesota's offense, and it looked like after they made their trades with like Williams coming on board, Logan Wilson coming on board, that their defense would get better. And it certainly has been better, but they're still giving up points. They gave up 44 against Detroit, which you can just chalk up to Detroit being a better team, but 30 plus to Minnesota, that's just crazy. And Minnesota had some injuries. They had a couple linemen out like Darisaw and Rouse, and Dallas's defense really couldn't get to JJ much. They only had like 5-6 quarterback pressures, and when JJ McCarthy had time to throw, he was able to carve up Dallas's defense. When he had more than 2.5 seconds in the pocket, he was able to throw 10 for 14, 187 yards, and a touchdown. And when he didn't, it didn't look all that good. But anyways, Dallas is officially out of the playoffs. They have to revamp their defense because Dak has just been playing out of his mind. And it seems like as he's getting older, and even though Dak has had some brutal injuries, as he's gotten older, he's still gotten better as a quarterback, and he's throwing the ball very, very well. And it just seems like he's like one of these veteran quarterbacks like Peyton Manning back in the day or Tom Brady back in the day, where he's just like well equipped to run the offense and just call out plays, and like it just seems like he's just in command of the whole operation, which is a sign of a pretty damn good quarterback. And I think Dak has some pretty good years ahead of him. And I think Jerry will be even more motivated to revamp the defense. He obviously made the trades, but now with Dallas missing the playoffs because Philly, they're not going to lose 3 games. They're not going to lose twice against the Commanders and lose to the Bills. They may lose to the Bills, but I think that they can absolutely get a win against the Commanders. Dallas has pretty much been irrelevant. Last season was obviously horrible with Dak's injury, and this season they've just been up and down. And I think Jerry Jones, if anything, wants relevancy. I don't think he cares all that much about winning a Super Bowl despite all that he says, but he absolutely cares about being relevant and making the playoffs, because if you just aren't relevant, then you're not going to be able to be a soap opera 24/7, 365 days a year like he wants. So he'll be motivated to get Dallas back into the dance, and so that they can be more relevant and all the TV shows can talk about them even more. I mean, of course, the TV shows have been talking about them regularly because they are the Dallas Cowboys, but when they're a playoff team, it just gives more credence to talk about them on a regular basis. So Jerry Jones, he's going to try his best to revamp the defense, and I think he's probably seen the error of his ways when it came to not investing on the defensive side of the ball, and I think Dallas will be better in that regard, and I think they'll definitely be back in the playoff mix next season for sure. Now, I want to move on to Bills and Patriots, and this was just a crazy game. Josh Allen was 19 of 28, 193 yards, 3 touchdowns, Drake May, 14 of 23, 155 yards, 0 touchdowns, 1 interceptions. And the Bills were down 21-0 1 point, and I'm just thinking, oh no, this is going to be another bad day at the office. Josh Allen is going to struggle. He had like 35 yards in the first half, and their defense isn't able to stop a cold. And the Patriots, it just seems like, have their number with them like beating the Bills earlier in the season. And it was 24-7 at the end of the first half, and I still didn't think Buffalo had a shot whatsoever. But I don't know what second half adjustments the Bills made, but they were able to be much better. They were able to stifle the Patriots offense. The Patriots had 100 yards of total offense in the second half compared to 285 yards in the first half. Josh Allen ran for 48 yards, which is quite a bit, but James Cook, he was able to be good in the running game. 22 carries for 107 yards, and that's important because when Josh Allen doesn't need to throw the ball a billion times and try to press, then he's able to play very, very well, and he's able to play turnover-free football. That gives the Bills a better chance to win. And when he tries to press and he just tries to make things happen when he feels like nobody is able to get anything else going, that's when mistakes start to happen and the team can kind of unfold. So they're going to need to be able to run the ball in order for them to have the succeed. And that's how Josh Allen was able to have success last year and win MVP. Just run the ball, be efficient in the passing game. And the Bills did pretty well, and they made it to the AFC Championship game. Unfortunately, this year, the passing game hasn't been the same, and the running game hasn't been exactly the same either. Speaking of, I think Josh Allen is certainly in the MVP conversation. Now, I didn't think he was in the MVP conversation before, but I think he certainly entered it. I still think Stafford is ahead, and I'll say that Drake May. Actually, no, I'll say that Allen is slightly ahead of Drake May. I mean, things can obviously change in the next few weeks, and especially with Matthew Stafford, depending on what happens between the Rams and the Seahawks. Both the Patriots and Bills haven't really beaten a lot of quality playoff opponents. Drake May has a much better defense, and he also has better threats on the perimeter than Josh Allen does. Allen, it feels like, for the most part, has to do everything in order for the Bills to have a chance to win. But the home stretch, that's going to determine everything. The Bills got the Browns, the Eagles, and the Jets, beatable teams. And if they beat those teams, that'll do a lot for Josh Allen's MVP case. The Rams got the Hawks, the Falcons, and the Cards. I think if the Rams lose against the Seahawks, that should be fine, considering it's a close game and Matthew Stafford plays decently well, but he shouldn't lose against Atlanta or Arizona. If he loses against Atlanta or Arizona, that's going to be tough for him to bounce back in the MVP race if Josh Allen is able to go on a heater. Patriots got Ravens, Jets, and Dolphins. Those should be 3 winnable games, and I think they'll probably win 3 of those games. But if Josh Allen does his things and he's able to win 3 of those games and Matthew Stafford does his thing, I find it very hard for Drake May to get back into the MVP race. So we'll see what happens. A lot can change in 3 weeks, and I'm excited to see how it unfolds because this race is getting very, very close. And I thought Matthew Stafford had it locked up, but it doesn't look like he has it locked up quite yet, even though he is the leading man as of now. Now I want to talk about Lions and Rams. The Rams won 41-34. Matthew Stafford was 24 of 38, 368 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Jared Goff, 25 of 41, 338 yards, and 3 touchdowns. And this was just a flat-out shootout. The Rams were down 10 points at one point, but the offense and Stafford and Nakua, they were just able to overwhelm the Lions defensively, and the Lions defensively simply just couldn't compete. Much better offensive performance for the Lions, of course, but the defense just couldn't get the job done. And I know the Rams have a great explosive offense, but the defense has to be able to get some stops, and they just couldn't. So far, the Lions defense has just been kind of bad. 11 of their 14 games, they've given up more than 20 points. It was 8 total games last year where they gave up 20 or more points. And last year they had everyone injured. Of course, the Lions have had injuries this year, particularly in their secondary. But the injuries aren't even the same this year as it was last year. People talk about the Lions missing Ben Johnson, and they definitely do miss Ben Johnson considering what he's doing in Chicago. But I'm sure that the Lions miss Aaron Glenn, and I think Aaron Glenn probably misses Detroit considering what's going on with the Jets. This isn't a total referendum on Kelvin Shepherd, even though he hasn't done the greatest job this year. I'm not saying fire him and maybe he'll improve next year, but as of now, he's shown to be a downgrade from Aaron Glenn. So they're going to need to be able to figure that out because the Lions, I mean, their division was never easy, but now the Bears are pretty damn good. And before they had to deal with the Vikings, even though this season they haven't been good, and we'll see how good JJ McCarthy is coming in the coming seasons. And of course, the Packers are good with Jordan Love, so they're going to need to get their defense together, and they're going to have to make an upgrade at the offensive coordinator position and just get back to being a great running team and just playing physical smash mouth offense and defense. Rams, on the other hand, great win, but Devontae Adams suffered a serious hamstring injury, and he's probably not going to play on Thursday. Well, he won't play on Thursday. And Adam Schefter reported that he's probably not going to be back until the playoffs. But other than Seattle, the Rams' schedule isn't exactly horrible, so they can absolutely survive. And I think Stafford is good enough to carry them through this rough patch of not having their second best wide receiver. The Lions, on the other hand, in addition of losing this game, they've probably lost out on the playoff race. It's looking really, really bleak. They're like a couple games behind the Packers for that final playoff spot. And the Lions got Pittsburgh, Minnesota, and Chicago. Packers got Chicago, Baltimore, and Minnesota. I think the Packers probably have to lose 3 straight, and I don't think that's happening. So the Lions are probably done, which is unfortunate. But like I said, they just got to upgrade and be better. And yeah, that's all I have for you guys pertaining to my NFL thoughts in week 15. I'm going to take a break this Wednesday. Got some stuff going on. I will be back this Friday to break down Rams and Seahawks, and if anything interesting happens between Miami and Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh definitely has a good chance of losing that game because Miami has gotten better as of late, and I'll, of course, talk about a few of the interesting games going on this Saturday and Sunday. So yeah, that's all I have for you guys. Thank you for listening. Please like and subscribe and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.